What's up everyone, I'm Dan and thanks to P-Cube for the review code. I'll be looking at Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire on the Nintendo Switch. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire is a homage to RPG classics that would feel right at home on the Dreamcast or GameCube era of consoles, and a game that I have been eagerly awaiting ever since the first trailer dropped. As someone who enjoys flight simulators and has a deep affection for RPGs, the idea of combining strategic, turn-based dogfights with an airship adventure had me hooked. The story of Glenn Windwalker and his band of ragtag sky pirates fighting against a domineering alliance promised not only thrilling combat but a heartfelt, charming narrative. However, after spending significant time in this open sky world, I walked away with mixed feelings. The game starts off with a beautifully animated intro cutscene that gets you really excited to see where this game will take you. However, one thing you'll notice in Wings for Hire is its slow start. The game takes its time introducing players to its systems, characters and world. While this isn't inherently a bad thing, it lacks the punch that other games with similar ambitions manage to pull off in the opening act. For a game that promises to relive the charm of classic RPGs, the early pacing feels somewhat sluggish. It took me a while to fully engage with the characters and the story, which is a shame considering the potential of the plot. The protagonist and his search for purpose with the Sky Pirate crew have an emotional core that could have been explored more dynamically from the beginning. One of the standout features in Wings for Hire is its turn-based combat system, which is quite a departure from what you would expect from a game focused on flight and dogfights. This isn't an action-packed simulator where you're constantly on the stick, engaging in high-speed aerial chases. Instead, combat plays out more like a strategy game where you'll tactically plan your attacks, defend against enemies, and adapt to the constantly shifting scenarios in the sky. On paper, this sounds like an exciting twist on the traditional flight sim formula. In execution, however, it falls just short of being consistently thrilling. The battles can feel repetitive at times, and the lack of variety in enemy types only compounds the issue. While it's refreshing to have a game that makes you think strategically in the skies, it doesn't quite reach the level of excitement that you would expect from an aerial dogfight. The concept is solid, but it could have used more variety and depth to maintain its intrigue throughout the campaign. Visually, Wings for Hire presents a bright and colourful world that's simple in its design. The environments are varied and filled with some Studio Ghibli inspired charm, but they lack detail and depth. While the towns and landscapes you explore are vibrant, they often feel flat and a bit basic. This is particularly noticeable on the Nintendo Switch, where the game's performance and graphical fidelity seem to suffer more than they should. Given the simple cartoonish style, it's surprising how rough it can look at times on the Switch. Textures appear fuzzy, and the frame rate can dip in certain areas, which detracts from the overall experience. That being said, the character designs are endearing, and there's definitely charm to the world that Wings for Hire presents. But in an era where the Switch has handled far more graphically intensive games, it's disappointing to see such technical shortcomings in a game with otherwise simple visuals. Throughout my playthrough, I also found myself constantly fighting with the game's biggest enemy, the camera. This never quite felt like it was where it needed to be. This made navigating the world feel awkward at times, and it could pull you out of the experience entirely. I found reducing the sensitivity helped quite a bit, but it still had its moments where it would do whatever it wanted. A smoother and more responsive camera system could have significantly improved the overall experience. While the camera may be a hassle, the controls for piloting your airship are simple and intuitive. Accelerating and decelerating with the left stick feels natural, and for the most part, the general handling of the plane is easy to grasp. The accessibility is one of the game's more positive aspects, and it's relief that the basic act of flying remains smooth and straightforward, even if the other elements of the game falter. The world of Sky Oceans is filled with potential, with its rich lore, varied cultures and towns scattered throughout the skies. However, without any voice acting, much of the emotional weight of the story is lost in translation. I would have loved to hear the characters brought to life through voice work, especially during cutscenes. Funny enough, there is some voice work, but only in battles, and it's only little phrases here and there. The orchestral soundtrack does its best to elevate the different moments and is another strong aspect of the game, but it's hard not to feel like the lack of voice acting was a missed opportunity to deepen the narrative immersion. At the end of my journey with Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire, I was left with mixed emotions. I wanted to love it, and don't get me wrong, there was some fun to be had in the game. The premise is great, and there are glimpses of a fantastic adventure hidden within its flaws. However, the combination of a slow start, awkward camera and technical issues on the Switch made it hard to fully enjoy myself. While the turn-based dogfights are a novel twist, they aren't enough to keep the game feeling fresh for its entire runtime. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire is by no means a bad game, but it's one that feels like it could have been much more. It's an adventure worth trying for fans of RPGs or anyone looking for a unique spin on the flight sim genre, but don't expect it to soar to the heights of classics it tries to emulate. Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire is out now on the Nintendo eShop, priced at $19.99 in the UK and $24.99 in the US. Big thanks once again to P-Cube for the review code. Thanks to you all for watching, and until next time.